You know, those kids from Good Will Hunting.
You mean that fucking movie with Mork from Ork in it?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan either. But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker.
What's up now?
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. I can't stress how much I appreciate our fans. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on our website. Brian's done a great job with it. All of our episodes and interviews from episode 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street, to the weekly release is on our website. We've done some incredible interviews with horror legends in the past. Go to our interviews tab. It's a lot easier to find them there than it is on like Apple or Spotify, etc. Check out our website for that. We also have our store. We have some new t-shirts. We got mouse pads. We also have hoodies. It's cold in a lot of part of the country and the world. Grab a hoodie. I'm about to make Brian buy me one pretty soon. I haven't told him yet, but he's going to buy me one pretty soon. And we also have Shan's Etsy page attached as well if you want to buy a tumbler. And I'm also going to shout out our social media links. All of our social medias are growing right now, and I like that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We're almost to 1,000 on YouTube. Definitely subscribe to us on there. We're uploading a lot of shorts, especially if you've been listening recently. We just did a Scream 6 trailer reaction with friend of the show, Patrick Maroney. He brought the heat on that one. I think we all did. Check that out as well. But yeah, the last thing we shout on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the one-time donation. If you want to do that, you're a big fan of a movie, we have that tier available, or we have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. None of that money goes in our pocket. We don't make any money off this podcast. Just letting y'all know that. We just use it the money just goes to pay the bills, where we upload our audio files, to make YouTube videos, stuff like that. That's all the money goes for. And we really appreciate the financial contributions. It takes a big burden off of us for. We thank you a lot. We're closing January out tonight with Brother Dustin's pick. Dustin, you want to announce your pick and why you picked it?
Yeah, man. So, I picked 1998's Phantoms, and there's one reason, and one reason only why I picked this movie. It's because I was rewatching all the Kevin Smith movies. I got to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I loved it when Affleck himself in Jay and Silent Bob goes, yeah, but Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms. And then Jay goes, hell yeah, bro, Phantoms like a motherfucker. And so I was like, man, I got to pick Phantoms. I don't know when I'm going to get to pick that movie again. I hadn't seen it in years. Upon this rewatch, that's not the best movie, but, I told you guys, is it a great movie? No. Is it a good movie, though? Also, no, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed it on this rewatch, and, it's a pretty quick watch. I felt like it went by pretty quickly, and Affleck was the bomb. He was the highlight of the movie, I feel like.
I'll go next real quick. I agree with you, Dustin, that Affleck definitely is the highlight of the movie. But, I've watched several reviews, they liken this movie to things like John Carpenter's A Thing, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, self-admitted, not the biggest sci-fi kind of guy. I'm just not a big fan of the movie. It's just not my cup of tea personally. And I also am not a fan of the way it was made. The movie's not scary. The jump scares they don't work for me really. So there's not much that I really, really like, but it's also not for me. So I'll just leave it at that. If you're a fan of the movie, I appreciate that. I will say the movie has a great cast. Ben Affleck, Rose McGowan, my man Clifton Powell, Pinky, love him.
Yeah.
It just thinks he's in all of the bad horror movies we reviewed. But hey, it's Phantoms. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Say it again. Ooh, one more time. Look, I agree. It's not great. But I will say that this reminds me of kind of a love child between Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight and an X-Files show or episode or a regular Tales from the Crypt episode. Where it seems like it's low budget and would definitely fall into that meh category for a lot of people, me included. But there is some charm here, and I can 100% see why this would be enjoyable and dare I say the dreaded two words, guilty pleasure for people. Even at almost 40, seeing this for the first time, it had a lot of endearing qualities for me. Maybe because, like Nico said, the aspects from what I felt like were from just so many damn movies. Alien. You brought up The Thing. The poster and parts of the movie reminded me a lot of Species. Honestly, though, pretty much every sci-fi movie in the late 90s used that green outer glow on their posters, apparently. I don't know. Somebody just learned how to do that on AOL Paint or some shit back in the day. But yeah, other movies you didn't bring up, The Blob, even damn Silent Hill video games that were really popular with Resident Evil in the late 90s there too. You brought up the cast, big name cast. And look, Joe Chappelle, not Dave, was the director. He directed another guilty pleasure of mine in Halloween 6. I think he did fine here. But I think the issue is the screenplay. And so when I saw that this was adapted from Dean Koontz novel, I was like, oh shit, okay. They have good source material to work from. This should be good. And then I watched it the first time and I was like, why did this seem like such a mess? And I expected, I guess, a more cohesive script. I bet Dean Koontz was pissed. Then I saw him wrote the screenplay. Dean fucking Koontz. So he has nobody to be mad at but himself. But again, as a sci-fi horror fan and Tales from the Crypt fan, X-Files fan myself, this had a lot of charm to it, like I said, but I don't think it's a very good movie either.
So I want to piggyback on something you said there. I didn't realize that either. Like, I've never read the book, but when I was looking into it, this rewatch, I was like, oh, it's based on the novel Phantoms by Dean Koontz. And I was like, wait, and he wrote the screenplay. So I think there, and this is what I might have to tell myself, there was a lot of stuff that was cut that would make it feel more cohesive and make it make sense. And that was probably cut for time restraint purposes. But also, it felt like a book. Like, when you're reading a book, like, it kind of jumps all over, and certain books, like, they just read better than they are visualized. And I think this is like a young adult book. Like, This is a book I would have read in high school and be like, this is awesome. And then you adapt it into a movie. And it's like, they didn't really turn out like I envisioned, but it's okay. Like, I felt that when I was watching this time.
Fair.
Very fair. All right, guys. Any more opening thoughts for you jumping to scene by scene?
No, let's do it.
All right, we're just going to shout out Mike. He's having some car issues. He's not going to make it tonight. Shout out to him. He's buying a Bugatti right now. So let's jump into the scene by scene.
He said his Maybach broke down, so he's just going to buy the Bugatti. I wish I had it like that.
And
Muffler
cash money
Mike
too. Muffler Mike. All right, let's jump into the scene by scene. The film starts with opening credits with a snowy mountain view. Dean Koontz's Phantoms. Lisa and Jennifer are driving when Lisa makes a call to Ronnie. She says she feels abducted. Jennifer speeds up to the tunnel for her call to drop. Lisa agrees to stay a month. It can't be that bad, right? Jennifer says Mom will be fine and it's healthier up here. Lisa asks how many people live here. 400 in the wintertime, up to 4,000 in summer. The town looks abandoned and is very quiet. They park and go inside Jennifer's home. She calls for her housekeeper to no answer. Lisa finds Hilda's dead body on the ground. Jennifer says she died suddenly. There's no blood or sign of struggle. Jennifer tries to call the cops, but her phone's dead. They hear a creaking, and Lisa asks what if the killer is still in the house. They attempt to drive away, but the Jeep won't crank. They begin to walk to the police station. We see the town getting darker. Lisa says it's a disease as she begins to panic. She apologizes, saying she's scared. Jennifer examines a dead cop's body, and Lisa says, you weren't shooting at a disease. The ladies get guns out of the case. Everybody's dead. Lisa makes guesses on what's killed everyone. They walk to a couple's bakery and are scared by creaking noises above them. They make it inside and call for Jacob and Anna. They find just a pair of hands using a rolling pin. The oven's alarm goes off, and they open it up and find pies baking until their heads fall below. Phone rings, and Jennifer only hears distorted sounds. She hangs up scared, and they keep walking the bakery. We see someone behind them when suddenly a light turns on, and they see Sheriff Hammond and two other officers. Stu is staring at the heads in the oven. Lisa asks if they can leave. Jennifer tells Sheriff they can't bring more people here. Something toxic could be going on. He yells that he's in control and he's going to get on the radio. They all walk the street as the officers talk about the events leading up to tonight with their fellow officer Paul when they hear a loud whistling noise. Suddenly alarms begin to go off and the lights flash. It all stops and Lisa asks if anyone was alive, they would have brought them out, right? Stu takes off and Sheriff catches up asking if he's okay. They're in an apartment and suddenly a Patsy Cline record begins playing upstairs. They cautiously head up the steps and begin to investigate. Sheriff kicks a door and he sees a flash of a young boy pointing a gun at him, but he vanishes quick. Stu kicks a door in and finds a dead woman lying in bed. He walks over to her as Sheriff turns the music off. Stu sits beside the body and asks what happened here as he laughs. He takes his gloves off and touches the body. Sheriff asks, what's he doing? He has Stu watch the hallway now. I wrote Stu as a weirdo. Sheriff calls for the doctor and takes her in a room he broke into. He shows her a mirror with Timothy Flight, the ancient enemy, written on it. Neither know who that is. They have no clue how someone got into that room. We hear a metal clanging noise and Stu goes to check it out. He walks in the room and sees all these objects on the bed. Sheriff walks in shock as Jennifer shows them a pacemaker. The people are being stripped even deeper than the skin. The attendance book doesn't show a Timothy Flight as we find a woman's hand holding a tube of lipstick. Patsy Cline plays again as we hear more creaking. We hear a woman screaming as Steve runs outside. He's quickly swooped up and taken away as the others run outside. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Okay, so personally, this group of scenes was my least favorite. Admittedly, the first probably 20, 30 minutes of this movie drugged to me, and it took a while to really get going. And that's another thing, that this is only an hour and a half movie, but it really felt long to me. But as far as the cast goes, like I said, I think it's a great cast. I think Rose McGowan is pretty good with what she has to work with. I think that there's some pretty bad dialogue that she gets written for her. Now, Joanna Going, first of all, looks like Jamie Gertz from Twister in this, but without the good acting. Sorry, we won't ever have Joanna on now, but I don't know. She just felt really wooden in this movie. And of all the cast, she was the least interesting to me. All right. Now, Affleck is one of my all-time favorite actors, so of course I think he's great. This actually was right before his big break, the same year with Armageddon. Now, I will disagree, though. I think Liev Schreiber, I'll probably just call him Cotton Weary this entire time. I think he steals this movie to me. Like, he is phenomenal. I brought up Demon Knight earlier. He's got a lot of Billy Zane vibes in this from Demon Knight, and we all know I love that movie already. He was creepy as hell, I think, feeling up that girl in the bed, just as a little laugh, like before he would do this crazy shit. Man, I don't know. I thought it was amazing. And little fun fact, that woman in the bed, an uncredited horror legend, Linnea Quigley. Anyway, now, like I said in my opening, this abandoned town felt a ton like the Silent Hill video game, or to a lesser extent, 28 Days Later. Now, I've seen a lot of people online say that they didn't like the atmosphere in this movie, but to me, it didn't feel all over the place like they were saying. I thought it was decently done, personally. Now, the heads falling out of the oven, the jump scare, I agree with Nico. I thought it was terrible. But another positive throughout is practical effects. I feel like that they were very well done. Howard Berger and his team have done The Walking Dead, the Interview with the Vampire TV series. He won a fucking Oscar for the first Narnia movie, just on and on. But yeah, I think that they look very damn good in this. And also love the mystery behind the piles of stuff everywhere. Like, the explanation, is even better later. But right now, that air of mystery is really starting to kind of grip me. And again, the start of this was pretty slow for my taste, but towards the end of this group of scenes is where I think that the curiosity starts to creep in for me. And I want to keep watching to find out what the hell's going on. Oh, last thing. Lame kill, though, I thought, on the Deputy Steve. Spoiler, that's my least favorite kill, especially for the first one of the, that we get in the whole movie. So, come on now. That's it.
It's not the first one. The maid was dead.
Well, the first one we get to see on screen. There was a lot of fucking dead people already.
Yeah, there is. This car ride, when we get introduced to the sisters here, Jenny and Lisa, got a corded car phone. Hello, 1990s. Like, holy shit. But I like the dynamic that we get here between them, like establishing that they're sisters, and we get, what's going on. Lisa's going to stay with Jenny for a while. But I would have liked to have had more backstory on Lisa. Like, why was she so reluctant to go stay with her sister? Why did her sister and mom feel like it was necessary? Why did Jenny speed up to make the phone cut off and, make her drop the call? Like, it seems like Lisa had a lot more baggage than we were made privy to. And I wanted to know a little bit more about that. But for what it was, it's okay. And then we do get a death in our first 5 minutes here. And then another one like right after it, albeit they're both off screen deaths, but still we got good pacing as far as our, drop bodies here. We don't have to wait for the suspense to start. There's not this long build up to it. So I do appreciate that. I do hate when they're at the sheriff's station there and Lisa shows Jenny how to load the shotgun. And she goes, see, LA's good for something. Unless by LA she means Lower Alabama or LA as in the abbreviation for Louisiana. That line just didn't work for me because it's very doubtful that a girl that looks like that lives in Los Angeles is going to learn how to load a shotgun just because she lives in Los Angeles. Fuck out of here. Like that's making Los Angeles sound like the Wild Wild West. It's not that way anymore in
Not
1998.
Detroit. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. LA is rough. There are rough parts of LA, but it's not just like common knowledge. Everyone that lives in LA knows how to load a shotgun like that. That was a dumb line. Then, we get to the bakery there. It's nice to see Thing from the Addams Family's in the kitchen cooking up some bread. That was cool. Oh, wait, no, it was just 2 chopped off hands. That was pretty awesome. I thought the effects looked okay as far as what little gore that we got in this movie and, what body parts we got. Now, Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, but I hate how we're introduced to him here because like he's just moving in silence in the dark. And him and Stu and Steve, like they're just moving in silence and they scare the shit out of these girls. Like it's very lucky that they didn't get blasted on.
Prepping for Batman.
Yeah, prepping for Batman. Yeah, he moves in silence. Oh, he thinks darkness is his ally. It's just an unnecessary jump scare, though, for me. And I agree that Lee Schreiber did well, but I don't understand why his character was written this way. Why he was so creepy. Like, making him weird or eccentric is one thing, but he was a straight-up creep. Like, and he's supposed to be a cop in a small town like this. Like, Hammond would have kicked him off his force if he's acting like that. I feel like. Exactly. But okay. Now another thing is there's something really creepy about old country songs playing in movies. So I love the inclusion of Patsy Cline here. Like that was awesome. Okay. And then, they're looking around these rooms and Hammond has his little flashback. Surely that won't come back into play later. All right. I like it, but I don't like it because it was really random. And then they didn't circle back around to it till way later in the movie. So that was kind of strange to me. But it's okay. I forgive it. And I do feel like the hotel scene here, it lasted a little long. Like we could have wrapped this up 5 minutes sooner and still accomplished the same thing, like them finding the clues and all this. I agree. I don't like Steve's death, quote unquote death, getting swooped up like that, but I'm okay with it, I think, because at least like we see that it's something supernatural going on. Like we don't know what's going on exactly, but we know it's supernatural. Like he gets swooped up. We hear these weird noises on the phones and everything, and then the lights and sirens, all that stuff that happened. So for what it was, I tend to go the other way, Brian. This is one of my favorite sets of scenes just because I think I like how we're shot out of a cannon into the suspense, and the pacing is just done really well.
All right, Sheriff is on the radio telling them the name Flight and to put a barricade into the town. The radio begins to break up as the sheriff asks for them to send federal help. They now hear the same distorted sounds Jennifer heard earlier. Stu jokingly says, "Guess we're on our own." Sheriff tells him there's still a chain of command. There seems to be some tension between he and Stu. Sheriff and Stu carry off the deputy in a body bag. Stu says the doctor is cute. Sheriff says whatever Stu is doing is not cute, and he snaps on him after he brings up the little sister. Stu says to relax. I have witnesses. The phone rings and the voicemail answers to the distorted sounds. "Who are you, Sheriff?" asks until it abruptly ends. The lights go out and we see a bat-like thing flying around the building. They unload clip after clip of ammo at the window and the lights come back on. Stu walks to the window and says, "Whatever that was ain't coming after us. We just shot it 30 times, Sheriff." Suddenly the creature attacks Stu, latching to his face and pinning him to the wall, attacking. Sheriff and Jennifer shoot at the creature, missing, and it flies out the window. Sheriff boards up the windows now. Mountain shots, and we now see Stu's head being examined by Dr. Jennifer. She's astounded by how much was consumed so fast. Lisa says it's the devil, right? Think it wants to dance with us? We're in the city now at the worldwide news station. Dr. Flight is drinking tea and typing as 2 FBI detectives walk to him. They ask about the article on the ancient enemy. They ask for him to come with them. It's a matter of national security. Sheriff sits down beside Jennifer, asking if she's okay. He asks how she thinks her sister is holding up as we see Lisa lying in bed. Jennifer asks the sheriff why is he here after Harvard and being with the FBI. He shows her a newspaper article of a kid with a gun hiding in a closet. It turned out to be a toy gun. Jennifer says he carries the picture around to torture himself. Sheriff says he shouldn't be forgotten. Lisa asks for an escort to the bathroom. We get close-ups of a sink dripping water and a screech. Lisa drops her cigarette into the sink and hears the noises. A toilet flushes and she's instantly paranoid. The doors begin to open and she walks toward the closed middle stall. She opens the stall and no one's there. She closes it and Stu is there now. You want to see something? You are so fucking cute. She runs out and yells for Jenny. Sheriff investigates but finds nothing. They go check out the body bags and see the bodies are gone. They hear a helicopter from above and run outside. However, it keeps flying past them. New plan, he says. Get your stuff. I'm going to get you out of here. Dr. Flight says this could be considered kidnapping as they fly on a plane. They don't take him seriously. The getaway vehicle for the sisters won't crank, and they pop the hood and they see serious damage. They hear a woman's voice screaming for help, but they know it's just bait. Dr. Flight and General Leland are heading to help, and Leland says they are curious on the ancient enemy. Dr. Flight tells of stories through history of people just disappearing. Flight tells Leland it's chaos in the flesh. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes I got. What'd you think, brother?
All right, so right at the start of this, we get the fucking Mothman Prophecies attack on Cotton Weary here. Where's Richard Gere when you need him? Great kill. I mean, this mother fucker, see what I did there? Like, ate his face off and his eyes and his brain in like 3 seconds. But can someone tell me why, like them, if you don't know what's happening here and you think you have a threat somewhere, why you literally waste every bullet you have just shooting into the window? I was just like,
thank you.
First of all, like, how many bullets do these damn clips hold? And why is it over 200 for each gun? But also, why are we wasting them all here? These people obviously never played the opening scene of Resident Evil Part 2. Just throwing that out there. Now we also get introduced to the legend Peter O'Toole here. Rest in peace. Dude has an amazing voice, which is why I love his role in this, because it's basically to explain the plot and the exposition dump. And he's a great choice because he could tell me anything, even as bullshit as some of this is, and I would believe him. Now, Agent Mulder and Scully that come in and get him in his office, one of them is the amazing Robert Nepper from Prison Break, and he looks super young here. And speaking of cameos, you brought it up earlier, Dustin, or I meant Nico, both of you. Pinky! Ooh, say it again. Say it one more time. Love that guy. You can't tell. It's hard for me to take him seriously, though, every single time.
Oh, come on. He was serious in Rush Hour. You better take your hands off this suit. This is my favorite suit. Your grandmama bought me this suit. He could be serious.
Something else I meant to mention the last group of scenes, but we get the explanation here. But what's really the point of the backstory with Affleck shooting that kid by accident? Like, I mean, even when, spoiler alert, he pops up at the end, to me it just kind of felt empty. Like, that's a subplot that maybe works for me if we have a kid in the movie that we grow to love and he ends up, like, I don't know, having to make a decision to shoot him later or something. But to me, it doesn't work here because I don't give a shit about this kid. And like you said, maybe it works better in the book. I'll never read it, but maybe that's something that reads better. Anyway, so far I'm down for some evil entity that eats folks. Let's go. It's only that additional character trait that they add later that really doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, so we get more of Stu being a creep here, and it's just like, how is this guy ever a cop? Like, I get it. There are bad apples out there, and, the cop doesn't have the shiniest reputation, especially nowadays. But there's difference in, like, the way he's acting. He's not being a bad guy. He's being a creep. It's just, I don't like the way that his character's written. All right, I'm done with that. And then I too, I wrote seems a bit extreme to empty the clips and fire off 6,000 shots blindly when you can't even see what you're shooting at. Like, it seems like you have a finite number of munitions and you might need to save them. What do I know, though?
Bingo.
Then what the fuck? Alien Moth just takes out Stu, and while he sucked, and I'm glad he's dead, like 30 minutes into the movie is a weird time to kill him, because to me it makes the creepiness of his character even worse. Like, it didn't mean anything. There's no payoff to writing him to be that way. We don't find a backstory why he acts this way. We don't see it, like, you know, I feel like if they'd have waited and had his kill be in the final act or something, it would have meant more, because by that time we're like, okay, this guy is insufferable. But as it is, like, we get 30 minutes into the movie and we've been around him for maybe 10 to 15 minutes and boom, he's dead. Like, I didn't like that. Then we meet Flight here and we figure out that he basically writes for the National Enquirer. You know, there's worse ways to introduce characters in movies. Like, I thought the way that we came to find him, I thought all that was fine. Then we find out, you know, what that flashback to the kid for Hammond was for, and that's some heavy shit. But again, I agree with you, Brian. Like, why? That was a weird. This is one of those things I felt like it probably read better. Like, that was probably a awesome detail to have in the book, and it made it, you know, it was much more meaningful in the novel. But as it stands in the movie, I didn't need that storyline. I didn't need that subplot there. Then when Stu comes back to life, see, now this is when it would make much more sense to be creepy. Like, when he comes back alive, if he had just started acting all creepy and rapey like that, like, that would make sense, because he's not Stu. Like, he's the dead version. But so I don't know. And he wasn't any more amplified, honestly. He was still the same guy. He just had weird looking eyes now. And then last thing I put was, we meet Clifton Powell's character, and to me, it was hilarious having him in the back of a speeding car, because I could just hear him as they stopped. He got out and walked up to the driver and said, "Look here, baby, you're hitting the corners too goddamn fast. You need to slow this motherfucker down. I almost spilled my yak on this $200 suit." Like, I could hear him telling the driver that when him and Flight got to the Army base there. But overall, though, it's a pretty good set of scenes again. Like, I think the pacing in this movie is great. And so if you pace a movie well, you're going to get a lot of points for me. So there's a lot of action going on. We're getting more plot development. So this is a pretty good set of scenes to me.
That was a great Pinky impression.
It was.
Leland shows Flight their field lab. No terrorist can take them out. He shows them the scientific team. Sheriff takes some candy from the machine and tells Jennifer breakfast and dinner is served. She's scared they'll never get out of here. He says, "Let's keep our heads straight and we'll get out of here." They go outside when they hear the trucks pull into town. Sheriff tells Leland the other two officers died in the night. Sheriff tells Leland he leans towards other about the type of threat they face. The scientists check out homes and theorize on what happened to them during their deaths. The scientist, a soldier, and Flight go into a church where they find a dead body. They think it's almost like an offering as they find undigested remains, all metal pieces. Flight says the body is a meal for later. They find underground wires that have been damaged. The scientists hear a boy's voice singing, "Jesus loves me." They hear the voice coming from the sink. A man sticks his finger into the drain and says it's nothing until a black liquid shoots out at him, knocking him to the floor terrified. He says it's just sludge. They find another dead body in a room. They see a painting of Satan on the wall. The body is now up from the bed and slams the door. Another soldier tells Velasquez to get out the tunnel, but he falls below into the water and is dragged away. The man from above, the manhole pit, is dragged below as well. Back to the church, and we see a dog walk into the church. He goes onto the stage with them, and Flight wonders how it survived. He says to get away from it. The dog's back begins to split open as a snake-like thing emerges, attacking the faces of the scientists. The soldier shoots their bodies to make sure they're dead. However, they attack next by the creature. Dr. Flight looks at them in fear as they say, "Do your research. Write the gospel. Go." He takes off running. Leland looks into the manhole as Flight runs up saying, "It's here. It's all around us." Suddenly, Leland is grabbed by the creature and his body is consumed. He pulls a piece of glass out his mouth and we see a lizard form. "My flesh, study it. Write the gospel, but do not try to leave." Witnesses to the miracle, Leland tells them as he dissipates. Flight must run an analysis on the lizard. It's why he was born, he says. They board the tank and Sheriff asks, "Why are we alive?" Jennifer says they needed us to get Flight here, They see him as a disciple. Flight studies the creature now and says maybe it's like flatworm learning. It absorbs the knowledge with the flesh. Flight says it lives deep in the earth, out of sight. Sheriff asks if it can appear as anything it's absorbed. The text, Jesus loves me, this I know, appears on the monitor. It says its name is Belial. It believes it's the devil. Tell the world, the monitor says. The tank begins to shake. Lab stability is threatened. Sheriff yells, it's not a god or devil. He yells out, it has a weakness, ego. It thinks it's Satan. Show me how to fucking kill this thing. It only thinks it's all powerful. That's what makes it vulnerable. Flight is back on the computer doing research. Flight says all the other things they've seen are phantoms. Logical deduction says this creature is big. The tank continues to shake. Microbe sample vault opens as the tank continues to be attacked. All right, Brian, this next set of scenes, guy. What'd you think?
Now, this set of scenes to me is where all the other movie influences really kind of jump out at me. The hazmat suits and the liquid busting in on them straight out of the blob, like I brought up in the open. There's tons of Alien 1 and 2 vibes and references here to me as well, especially in the sewers. Like even the sound effects sound like the aliens from the second one. Listen to our review of that one on DogWellTheAuthor.com. This group of scenes is probably my favorite, though. Like there's an exchange where Affleck meets O'Toole and Pinky for the first time, and the dialogue and the entire exchange I think is the best in this movie. Like, how do you fit into this reluctantly? Like, we got to know what we're dealing with, A, B, or C. I'm paraphrasing. Other. I didn't do it justice, but I really enjoyed it. The church scene is definitely my favorite in the film. Like, we find out why there's the leftover piles of stuff, and when O'Toole tells them what it is, I was like, oh, shit, okay. The black ooze busted out on that one dude, and I thought, careful, that's how Venom gets you. Nico won't get that reference, but that's okay. This is where we get those first very noticeable references to the thing here that we talked about, with the creature showing itself here, popping out of the dog. And damn, it looks fantastic. Like, even reminded me of one of my other guilty pleasures, Species, here in some aspects. More amazing effects when Copperfield bites it and is taken over. Oh, and when he pulls that piece of helmet glass like out of his mouth, no, that shit looked good. That was good. But given the amazingness that we just got with the church scene, it ends on some bullshit. Like, the way it talks through the bodies seems super hokey to me. I can't remember what other movie does it like this. I think maybe it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I may be wrong on that, so don't write in and give me hell for that one. But I don't like it here. Plus, the biggest issue I have with the entire motivation for this ancient evil is here. Can't the fucking ancient evil just be evil and want to kill people? Like, why are we making the ancient evil want some press? I mean, come on, really? Like, I mean, inheriting everything from what you're eating, I think is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool aspect, especially with the real world flatworm explanation. But the entity just trying to get TikTok famous is where I start like giving this movie the side eye. I'm just like, man, come on, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. The back half of it is where it gets a little wonky for me as well. But so to me, my man broke into the vending machine to steal a Heath bar, some Milk Duds, and a Payday. Like, dude, there's got to be better stuff to eat in that town than that, because he said dinner served. Now, I get it. They're all delicious, but I will warn you, you need to be careful with the Milk Duds. About 15 years ago, this is a true story, I broke a tooth on a Milk Dud. I had to explain to my dentist that I needed a partial tooth because I broke a tooth on a Milk Dud. You got to be careful there. It's kind of hard to take it seriously when the Army and Flight arrive, because they're all wearing these, like, you know, hazmat suits with the masks and helmets and all that. But they just leave Hammond and the girls to fend, like, they didn't bring extra suits for them, and they're walking around fine, like, without the suits and helmets. Like, that was just kind of weird to me. And then it's even more difficult to take it seriously when Homeboy's down in the sewers there, and he just freaks out when, or no, it's not in the sewer, sorry, but he freaks out when the sink splooges in his face. And, like, it didn't compromise your helmet at all, but you're screaming like a little bitch. What are you doing there, my guy? When I was talking about in the sewer, though, what's the point of even wearing these helmets if Velasquez is just going to take his helmet off and throw it when adversity comes his way? Like, he hears a little bit of noise and sees some rumbling in the sewers there. He just throws his fucking helmet. What are you doing there? But this movie, it does lose me a little when all the stuff happens with Copperfield here. I agree. The effects of the black ooze at his feet, like it looked bad. It looked like The Adventures of Alex Mack. If you guys remember that show, I know Nico doesn't, but Brian probably do. You remember how she used to turn into that silver ooze and transport and stuff? Like that's what it looked like, but it was black instead of silver.
Hey, little Brian had a crush on Alex Mack too.
Dude, little Dustin did too. I even bought the Alex Mack books at the book fair because there was no pictures in the books, but she was on the cover, and I was like, oh, I'm in love. Anyway,
nice.
Paramount, what are you doing? Paramount's got like every Disney show or every Nickelodeon show under the sun on the app, but Paramount does not have Alex Mack, and I would like to rewatch that. That sounded creepy. Not because I have a crush on her now, but just because I enjoyed the show as a kid. Oh, and then what was the rest of the shit with Copperfield about that? Like he pulled that huge glass shard out of his mouth. He hawks a lug that turns into a lizard. Like what the fuck is happening here? This is a little far-fetched for me. I can get on board with a lot of weird stuff happening in movies, but that was just a little too weird. And then this set of scenes made me realize something. Like, no offense to Peter O'Toole. I think he's great. I agree with what you said about him earlier, Brian. But when I'm watching this scene in particular, I just couldn't help but wish that David Warner was cast as Flight. I mean, the TGRI guy. Yeah. From Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Like, he would have been perfect when he's doing all the science shit with the test tubes and talking about flatworms. Like, I just saw that character as the TGRI guy. But
I legit thought that Peter O'Toole, when I first turned this on, was him. It took me a while, but I legit thought that was him.
This set of scenes, though, to recap, it's an okay set of scenes, pacing wise, but the story and what I'm seeing on my screen does lose me a little bit.
All right, guys, here's the ending. Jennifer puts a bandage on Sheriff's neck. She asks Lisa if she's okay. I don't want to go to hell, Lisa says. Flight has a match found. Petrolatum. It's more complex than petroleum jelly, but similar. Flight goes to the microbe samples and says, oh, glorious day. Guthrie tries to radio, but no connection. They see the scientists outside their base. Flight shows Sheriff a man-made bacteria that dissolves oil. The entire army base is completely destroyed. All the people taken out. Sheriff exits the tank and hears the dog growl. It's behind him as he punches in the code to another tank. It opens and Sheriff backs into the other tank. He turns around and there Leland stands. He opens his mouth to make sounds. He walks away from Leland and looks for a gun. He exits the tank with 2 cases and walks past the dog who walks beside him, then stops in front of him. I only want to tell the world, and he walks past the dog. He opens the door to the other tank and walks inside. Flight asks how they plan to draw the mass of it to them as they load the guns up. They have Flight go outside as bait. I'm here, your witness. If I'm to tell the world, I need to see all of you, not just a drone. He names off the weapon to destroy it. They still don't believe. They think you're an animal. Show yourself. Gods have nothing to fear, or do they? An entire town of people stand before Flight now. They walk away, forming a giant cyclone-like being. Now would be a good time as the others exit and begin shooting it with the bacterium. Sheriff sends the sisters back to the lab. They go into the sheriff's office getting guns as the power goes out. Sheriff asks if it's dead yet. He descends into the sewers. The sisters are chased by Stu as they open fire on him. They reload, but he's still alive, and he sings Patsy Cline, I Fall to Pieces. He has tentacles coming out his lower torso, attacking at them. Jennifer shoots a hole into the roof, and they climb into the attic. Sheriff walks through the sewer. Stu is in the attic now, still pursuing them as Jennifer blows his head off with the shotgun. He still attacks as they shoot again. His body falls below. Sheriff sees the boy from the closet who attacks him. I'm going to let you live in me forever, he tells the sheriff. The boy picks up the needles, and Sheriff shoots the syringes, exploding the bacterium all over his body. He shakes violently and shrieks. We get shots through the town as the sound stops. Jennifer hugs Lisa. It's all right. All those souls, maybe they're at peace. Flight says it's still one. It wanted me to tell the world, which I am going to do. A helicopter approaches as we hear Flight talking. He's sitting in a chair speaking on TV about the ancient enemy. A man and a woman at the bar talk about if they believe in it or not. We hear a laugh and we see Stu at the bar. He asks if they want to see something as Patsy Cline plays and the film ends. All right, Brian, what do you think about the ending?
I feel like the ending kind of drags on a little bit to me. even though we get a lot of good action and effects, I felt like this group of scenes the same way I did about the first 20 minutes or so. Again, great effects. There's a fantastic shot right before the big boss battle of the empty town and the snow falling. Again, lots of Silent Hill vibes there. I thought it was a fantastic, beautiful shot. Even right after that, when O'Toole is trying to lure the YouTube star aspiring entity out, and we get that shot of him facing all the dead townspeople, that's a beautiful shot as well. I just don't like the route they went with the CG tornado. Like, this is all pretty terrible effects, but for 98, it's fine. I think I just would have rather them go like the route of some alien-looking creature that was practical instead of the whole CG whirlwind of doom here. I love the return of Schreiber, and when the girls unload the shotguns, just his smart assedness. I loved this. Ouch reminded me of Zane's tantrum when he threw outside in the hotel in Demon Knight. When he's like, "Oh, don't, well in there, motherfuckers." I don't know, classic. That's what reminded me of that. I kind of laughed too at the end when it showed O'Toole giving a speech on the ancient enemy. Like, it looked like the old Unsolved Mysteries set, like the interviews there. That worked pretty well for me, actually, and the very ending with Schreiber again at the bar worked well for me too. But yeah, that's really all I had on the ending.
So I thought that Flight's whole backstory is written wrong. Like this set of scenes made me realize that, like, when he's here in this government mobile lab and he's so comfortable just taking over when everyone else died, when he'd been there for like 10 minutes, like, it makes more sense to me to have him like have been a government scientist all along. Like, much more logical. There's no need for him to be a tabloid writer. Like, I get it, the entity, whatever you want to call the antagonist here, wants Flight to tell his story, but you can still know, like, Flight could be a military scientist who's written a book or something, and and studied this thing, the ancient one and all that. Like, the ancient one, that's Doctor Strange, the ancient enemy. But that, like, to me, there's no real reason to have him be a tabloid writer, especially the way that he just took over and ran the shit in this mobile lab, and knew where everything was and how to do everything. Didn't buy it. We get a good use of the jump scare here, though, when Hammond is snuck up on by Copperfield. Like, the dog was just right there outside, and like, it's very uneasy there, and then boom, Copperfield's right behind him. Like, I thought that was very well done. It's a very tense scene as he's going back and forth from one trailer to the other. I like that a lot. And then this motherfucker used reverse psychology on a quote-unquote god, and it worked. Unbelievable. That was all right. Now, what are we doing here? One of the things that it's probably my favorite thing. Like, if you could point to one thing and say this movie did this absolutely right, I love the eerie silence after he finished talking, and then the camera pans to the other direction. You see that the masses had just shown up out of nowhere, and all those people are standing in the streets. Like, very cool. Silence was deafening there. It was so well done. And then the flashback from Hammond that that he had earlier, it finally pays off here. The kid shows up, and he freezes up a little bit and puts him in danger. I think that's a great final conflict for him in the story. But again, I think we could have got the same outcome without having that. But I did like his little line there. He's like, "Nope, this time I'm gonna miss," and he shot his hand instead and made the thing blow up. Like, that was cool and all, but I think, like I said, we could have got to where we're going a different route. We didn't need to have the kid and have him shoot a kid. And then lastly, I did like the ending here with Stu being at the bar, because we thought, they won, it's over. But then, nope, Stu is at a bar, what we can only assume is towns away. And so it's a great little touch to let us know that it's not over. They didn't actually win, that the ancient enemy is still out there and gonna cause havoc in the future. So I thought that was a cool touch as well.
All right, guys, let's jump into our social media comments and questions. We'll do Facebook first. My friend, my homeboy Jeff the Gamarino, all he did was comment a gif of the Affleck "You the Bomb" and Phantom Joe. And I had to reply. I was like, this quote is literally why the movie got picked. So I just felt like the people needed to know that.
Word, bitch. Right, Phantom's like a motherfucker.
All right. jump over to Twitter now. The only comment we got was from Randy Smith. He said, excited to hear y'all's thoughts on this underrated 90s classic. Very well acted. Special effects were top notch. A good blend of practical effects and computer generated. Reminds me a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing. If I had to guess, 2 of you will like it, 2 will not. 7.5, A+ pick. Okay, wow. Brian. Or okay, Dustin. He likes your pick. All right.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to Instagram now. Release date rewind comment. I remember having a soft spot for this one. Time for a rewatch. Okay. Chris _2020 commented, why was Lee Stryver so damn creepy in this one? Thought he was going to be the twist villain with all that pedo-like behavior. I don't think he was a pedo. It was more of like a rapey behavior.
Yeah, I think all of his targets in this movie were of age, but yeah, definitely rapey.
Yeah, he was good, but I didn't really like his character. All right, Ryan _Lictro827 commented, heard of this one, but I've never seen it before. Looking forward to your review. I love all those late 90s horrors gems. Okay. And our last comment is from Gail the Snail. I've never seen this one, so rented it last night. It reminded me of The Thing, but it was like watching a Lifetime movie with the way it was shot. Lee Stryver was great, but I thought everyone else overacted a lot of the time. Admittedly, I was drunk as a skunk when I watched this, but I laughed a lot and was thoroughly entertained. I probably won't watch it ever again, though, with a laughing emoji.
Oh, no, Gil. You got to watch it when you're sober now. Come on. Don't do Affleck like that.
All right, guys. That's the end of social media comments and questions. If y'all got fun facts, y'all go ahead.
I only have one, and actually I meant to say it in the last set of scenes, but the final scene in which it's discovered that the monster's still alive when Liev Schreiber's character is shown in a bar watching television, it's practically identical to the final scene shot for shot with The Howling in 1981.
All right, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. I'll kick us off tonight. My favorite kill, I'm going to go with Stu's first kill with the whatever that bat thing is, grab him by the face, ate his face off, all that good stuff. Least favorite kill, you can pick any of the dead bodies. You can pick, what was the other cop's name? I can't even remember. He was so forgettable. Steve. Yeah, of course, he's just a random cop named Steve got picked up and swooped away. We'll go with him. I'm just going to echo kind of what I said at the beginning. This movie isn't for me. I agree a lot with Gail the Snail. The way it was shot just didn't work for me. The movie started fast as hell, but I really didn't feel like a lot was explained. I just wasn't invested in anything that was really going on. And I'm sorry to do this, but I just gave it a 2.
Whoa.
Okay, goddamn. All right, my favorite kill, and my least favorite kill is the same as Nico. My favorite kill is Stu's human death with the Mothman prophecies eating his face. And least favorite kill is Deputy Steve at the start, swooped off by screen or whatever by Richard Gere's Mothman. Closing. Look, another reason why I love doing the show and how I feel like I've grown over the years is to be able to kind of see other people's points of view. Now, because before it was with me, it was just black and white. Like it was like, oh, this movie sucks because I don't like it. But after doing Guilty Pleasure Month, and just doing other episodes of the show, I can now like look at a movie like this and say, shit, I may not like this movie, but it has the same qualities of of other guilty pleasures that I have, like Demon Knight, like I said, or Jason Goes to Hell, or Halloween 6, and on and on. So I can totally see the charm of this. Now, this doesn't apply to some movies that are just terrible, Rubber and Audition, for examples. But with that said, it's really hard for me to rank this thing. I gave it a 4.75.
Okay. So for my favorite kill, I went with Stu, I guess. Like his character sucked. So I wanted to see him dead, and it was, I guess, the coolest looking of any of them that we got. For my least favorite kill, look, take your pick. We had a lot of off-screen deaths in this one, so we'll just say any of those. As for the movie itself, it's enjoyable. It's not very good, but this would be a good one. Like, I feel like this is a good one. You can just, if you're doing laundry, folding laundry stuff, you can just put it on so stuff you don't have to pay attention to, because if you look up at the screen, you might be entertained by what you see. Like, it's entertaining enough to me, but it's not one that I feel like I'm compelled to sit here and I have to watch every second of it. So it's a nice, easy, light watch, I think. I gave it a 5.75 just because Look, it's not very good, but it's got that guilty pleasure factor, I guess, for me. And that gives us a composite score of a 4.25, so we're a little under IMDb's 5.4.
I'll take the blame for that. I apologize.
Actually,
I don't know.
We're off for that. I did that. I'm going to change my score to a 6. That'll give us a 4.25.
well, just Mike rated it a 9.75, didn't he, or something like that? And so
he said this movie was a 9.99. It was one of the best movies he's ever seen.
That's right. I knew it was something like that.
Because it had Cotton Weary and his name was Stu. It was just all the Scream nods. He loved it.
And Rose McGowan's in it.
And Rose McGowan, by God. And it was in the 90s, by God.
Oh, and also Rose McGowan was in this movie, but she was also in Ready to Rumble with David Arquette. So maybe go check that movie out.
Also, me and Nico are going to go meet Rose McGowan in a couple of weeks too, actually.
Yep, and Stu
Stu. Wow, met all over the place.
Well, this has been one hell of a ending of this review. All right, all right. So, any final thoughts before I just shout out the blood donors? Then we're going to kick off our new theme, and Brian's going to announce his pick. I'm excited for it. All right, let's shout out our blood donors. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. Take a big burden off of us. We really appreciate y'all. Our camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, Brian Samick, and Gail Koontz. Our camp council reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, Clay Moore, Karen, and new one, Matt Strickland. And we also have a legendary blood donor film review to do, and that is also Matt Strickland. Brian, you know how we said we were going to give away it all again on the screen book? Let's give one away to our blood donors. We'll figure out a way to give it away fairly, but I feel like we should do that.
Sounds good.
And next month, February, we're kicking off a new theme. We're going to be doing Women in Horror Month. I'm excited for it. And Brian's going to be kicking us off. And go ahead and announce your pick, brother.
Yeah, so if you listen to the show, you know I have this thing where I kind of feel like movies should be watched in chronological order, not necessarily release order, if it's, if there's a prequel in the franchise and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to pick this movie. Well, I mean, I guess I should say what the movie is. Shit. It's 2003's Underworld. But there's a prequel in the franchise, which is the only one I believe Nico has seen, if I'm not mistaken. But I felt like we needed to start with this one. I mean, this is the first one released. It may not be the first one in chronological order, but with this franchise, I feel like we need to start with 2003's Underworld. So that's what I picked.
Is Rise of the Lycans the prequel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. But it's been 10 years probably since I watched it. I did like it, though. All right, I'm excited for it. I've never seen the first Underworld, so I'm excited for it. Big fan of Kate Beckinsale. Teaser alert, she may be on my list for my birthday episode that we do. Big fan of hers. Just want to thank all our fans. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. It means a lot to us that we got fans all over the world who comment on our stuff, listen to us. We really appreciate y'all, and hope y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody,